Ellen Sutter, we are back. Ellen Sutter, ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats. I'm short, guys. I'm trying to get up in the chair. Good to see you guys. I am going to invite you back in, Lolita. Hopefully, you are there. Grab that. You are in the queue here, waving at you.
Okay, do you see me?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
All
You
right.
gotta keep trying, just keep in there.
Just keep in there. So that is good. I can hear you wail and everything.
Yeah, you know what? I figured I should have went to another room earlier today, but I didn't do it. So anyway, here we are.
Here we are. So I'm calling this part two.
Okay, there you go,
Part
part two.
two. And
Here
I was
we
looking
go.
at you see, like we said, she wanted Annalisa, she wanted her live-in boyfriend, Nathan, to accompany her to these things, to the
Right,
events. And he said, I've been to your stuff. And I mean, he said stuff, and it made me kind of upset because he didn't look at it as value as she did. You
right,
know, he's
exactly.
been
Right.
there. And so now she is in the interview. That's just how fast it come up in chapter 8. She's sitting down in that interview. Before she did the interview, and this is the part I wanted to ask you. Before she did the interview, she read the reviews on her
Right,
book,
right.
and there were mixed reviews. So I wanted to ask you, just like Annalisa, how do have you looked at the reviews you yourself have, and what is that mixed emotion that you have? Are you waiting for every reader to give you a 5 star? Are you okay if someone said something negative, or if they gave you a 1 or 2? How do you, as an author, handle reviews, honest reviews?
Well, at this point, I've only had really good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 4.5 stars and stuff, and so if my name was on a project and something that someone took over, and I didn't really have the creative power when I first started, I would be absolutely devastated.
Mm-hmm.
Now if I think she could have probably lived with it had it been her own work, but she got
Mm-hmm.
the best views based on what she knew from Jump Street. Here she's talking about this woman who's trying to heal from domestic violence, and so then you have this woman who's interjecting a rich suitor who comes in and saves her, a billionaire, and brings in a couple of sex scenes in there. And so the very thing that Annie was complaining about is the very thing that the critics picked up on. They were like, "This is just." So I would be very devastated. If, of course, I don't think anybody wants their work to be. I don't think anybody wants their work to be criticized or whatever. But I think that's a part of it. But if it was something that I did with my heart, and people didn't resonate with it, sure, I'd be disappointed, but I think I can live with it and learn from it and go back and say, okay, well, how can I do this different? But her book gets canned and kind of marginalized, not based on her talent and what she wrote, but by what Evelyn did to her work.
That is so true. But when she
Yeah.
gets that interview with Stacey Florence,
Yes, Stacy. Yeah. So Stacy's kind of like whoever, like the Oprah of the day, but Oprah was not unkind like that. But you know what I'm saying?
what she did to her in asking her those questions, and it just had her with loads and loads of anxiety,
Yeah.
to the point that she just told her truth. How important was it for you to write in how Annalise would tell the truth? Just as she was getting those questions from Stacey Florence, the interviewer, and she told her truth. Now, I wanted to ask you this. Was she actually telling her truth,
No,
or
she
was
was
it in
thinking
her
about that.
mind?
That was in her mind. She didn't say it. What
Okay.
what what she did was she came up with a very clever answer, like, well, a lot of times the critics can pan your stuff and the audience loves it. Your fans love it. So her fans like the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so Annie said, well, you know what? I'm glad to see that the fans weren't put off with a little bit of titillation and silver lining. So they weren't put off by it. So she said, I'm okay with it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, had to kind of like put on a face, but she was thinking about that. Yeah, that Stacy was right, but she didn't say it. She was thinking it.
Mm-hmm. And so that's the part I wanted to know too. Did she actually, okay, like in my mind, I think she was thinking about it when she said, "Hey, this is not my
Yeah, she
book." She had
was
had
thinking
enough.
about it.
She
Yeah,
was,
she was thinking
that's why
about
I
it.
say, I was like, I don't know if she really did it. I say, in my mind, I think she was thinking about it,
Was
but you
thinking about it.
wrote it
Yeah,
in a way that you left us to say, did she say it or did she
yeah.
not say it or did she think it?
And she thought it in her mind. She thought it, but then her answer was, well, the audience wasn't put off by, romance and a little bit of, little pizzazz in there in the story and a happy ending.
And like they said, people were going out and buying the books
They
because
were
you
going
do see
back
some.
out.
Yeah, you do see some people they didn't like it and they was like, okay, wanted to see about it, just to see what people are saying. It caused some sales as well. So I really like that. And there have been books that was in the social media. What is one lady? She wrote a book and she's white and she's writing about the hood. Well, it sounded good until they found out that she was a white writer. This is in real life. And so
Wow.
that book just hit the roof and people was selling it, was buying it like
That
nothing.
it.
So,
The fans
so,
loved it. You know what I'm saying?
and so that's what that made me think about because that was a true thing that happened in the social media, like before the
Wow.
pandemic. And so
Wow.
everybody was looking at, I can't think of the name of the book, but it hit the runways. And so, like she was saying, her thinking that. And I'm glad that
Okay.
you let us know
All
that
right.
was her thinking it because I was like,
Yeah.
but then I said, well,
But
maybe
the
she
thing that's
did.
so sad about it is that her instincts were right. Her instincts about her book were right. Maybe not the murder part of it, which she'll come to find out at the end that part didn't need to be in there. But her instincts were right.
Mm-hmm.
Her pure, what she started out with the book, because the critics did say that it has some redeeming. There were a lot of things that she said about domestic violence, but then all this other stuff that was thrown in there. That's what makes it so sad, is
Mm-hmm.
because she was right. You know,
So with Evelyn, why did Evelyn want to? We could see a little bit. It's kind of riddled in there with the why. But just for those who haven't read your book or will read it eventually, is why? What was it you as a writer to show Evelyn owning, owning and taking over uh, Annaliese's book in a way that and Lisa knew it was not her story. It was like, why is Evelyn so close to this story? Why is it so important to have this unknown writer and to just add your voice to it?
well,
Why was it so important to
that's what
show us?
Miriam was telling me, because she's a very Evelyn is very ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know it's dark in here. Evelyn is very ambitious, and so it's like anybody else that comes across raw talent.
Mm-hmm.
There's come across somebody that's extremely talented, and if you can sign that person and get your name connected with them in terms of that you discovered this voice, that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Because Evelyn got the job. When we talk about that a little bit, at the beginning, she got the job being Rosario's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So she does have credentials, but not the credentials that she would have in the clout if she has a star writer. So that's why
True.
she hijacked Annie's project and made it her own.
That some of it you did talk about a little bit on our
Yeah,
first talk that
right.
some of the stuff was like Evelyn's life.
Yeah, Evelyn was throwing. Yeah, she was up there proud. She got billionaire man because she was very good looking.
Mm-hmm.
She's I described her at the very beginning. She's a bombshell,
Mm-hmm.
and so this man is a powerful. He owns the that publishing house. So yeah, that was her story. She threw that stuff in, but Annie was coming out of domestic abuse. So she just saw, you see somebody talented, people do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They exploit talent. They see somebody that, somebody's young and somebody who's got all this talent. Well, somebody much more, a wolf in sheep's clothing will come along and take you under their wing and take your stuff, your intellectual property, as they say. And she was riding on Annie's coattail. Yeah.
Lolita, how? Because I find this fascinating, but had you thought about? Of course, you thought about it, but really thinking as like you have new writers and you have seasoned writers, and in your mind writing this, did you want to bring out some emotions or some things in someone that is aspiring or a seasoned writer to see this and how it would look like if someone had your story and pick it apart?
Well, you know what? The thing that's so funny, and Marion, hey, Marion Ulrich, I love you so much. That's my sister. We were talking about that yesterday. This was not supposed to be the people resonating with the story of her being a writer and Evelyn stealing her work. That's just the backdrop. The whole story has absolutely nothing really to do with that. It's the catalyst to it. I'm writing about a woman with emotional and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that, this is just what's going to set up the story of what takes her down this road that's almost going to destroy her. So that's why I wrote the story about someone who has unresolved issues in their life from their past, and a lot of people are doing it. You know, I'm an emotional support coach, and I have fun, and so I do a lot of inner child work. And what people will do is they will become if you're ambitious, if you have good ideas and you are creative and talented, you can build a life for yourself. You can become famous.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a instant influencer. You can do all these things. But if you have not dealt with the issue in your life from your childhood and stuff that you're trying to stuff down, eventually it's going to sabotage your life. That's what this story is about. That's what this story is about. So, we're not even anywhere near what this story is about. Right now, I just set this up that she didn't follow her own instinct. She follows other people.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have a voice of her own. She's following this the boyfriend. Her girlfriend is kind of thinking for her. She doesn't have a voice of her own. She's very insecure. And this is going to take her down a very devastating path. She's going to do things in life that are very devastating. So I wasn't even thinking about, and I'm so glad because Marion said, well, yeah, I'm so glad you did bring that up because a lot of people are not aware that this can happen to new writers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just fascinated by what people are taking away from it. But I think we talked about it in our last interview. I talked about in terms of people getting record deals. Yeah, it's prestigious to get a record deal. It is. All right. But it's also, it can be a trap. Because if you sign to a record company, they can shelf you. Sometimes people get record deals, and I was listening to a producer one time on talk radio, and they were saying that they can find talented people, and if you are in competition with the artists that they are getting behind now, they will sign you and shelf you so that your project can't go forward. Now I don't know so much in the writing world, but I did read that if your book doesn't do well after a couple of months and you're signed with a big company, they can shelf your material and take it off the market because they own it.
Wow. And you showed there in to how Anneliese, going back, Marion said you have this contract.
You got a
fulfill
contract.
this contract. You cannot get out of it.
And I get out of this.
You're lock, stock, and barrel. So I'm looking at Anneliese and I'm looking at Evelyn. So as you were talking, I was just kind of playing this through. We know that that's somebody's story, but then with Evelyn weaving her story into that, who is the wounded victim? More so, like it seems like Anneliese, it seemed like it was starting off as her story, although it is her story. But then you see Evelyn in there. But who are we talking about that have the wounds? And I guess I won't see that until I keep going further.
Well, you're going to see
further on.
Other people. There's going to be, like I said, giving the story away. There are, like I said, it takes a village to put people together. There's going to be at least 6 women in this story.
Mm-hmm.
Behind and are influential in Annie's life. We'll see what happened to Evelyn. What made Evelyn? So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's what I love about when HBO came out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
HBO, they started doing their stories. They started showing the bad people, you know, the villains. We used to be all good or bad, but
Mm-hmm.
not everybody. It's not always that cut and dry. Like when they
That's
started
true.
coming out with, you know, The Sopranos and coming out with Dexter and all that kind of stuff. But they were showing there's a human element to these people. You might not necessarily like them, but there was a component to them. Well, we have to look and see what happened to Evelyn. What's Evelyn's story? What's behind?
Mm.
Was there brokenness there? Okay,
That is so true.
so
Oh
this
man, that is so true. Uh,
right.
our time is going up, but I want to
Good.
talk about this. You do bring Bryce Goodman, and then early on, Annalisa, she was reading about Bryce Goodman,
Yeah.
and then she meets him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And him giving her card and how he was saying she heard at the hotel, and Annalisa heard Evelyn talking, right?
Yeah, they were at she left her day planner. They were at the she went back to the publishing house where Bryce was having a meeting with Evelyn. So
Right.
she went
And then Bryce said he's gonna leave that. And the argument, Bryce filled it in that the argument was about him leaving. He gives
right.
he give Annalisa his card and say you never know. So I'm being nosy. You don't have to tell me, but I'm being nosy as to I'm thinking that Bryce is going to take her on, but I'm being nosy. I don't know if you're going to tell me, but Bryce seemed to be a good part from what I just had a glimpse of what he's doing. And that is him also in there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about chapter 9, when we'll see Nathan as well as Annalisa. Things get a little bit different. Uh,
Oh yeah, the relationship dynamics changed
yes,
because yeah,
yes, it's changing, and you see that.
there's going to be another. You know, okay, people can look. There's going to be another child here. So like, what the heck is going on? All right,
I was
and why is it so distant?
I was upset about that.
Yeah,
Not that she's having a child, but his reaction. I'm like, you guys are together. You guys are physically almost married.
right.
Why are you upset? Do you have another woman somewhere? Why? What is this stopping you
That,
from? I mean, why are you slighted by this?
you got good instincts, girl. You got to finish reading it.
I know
That
that makes me
that's it.
mad.
Yeah,
I'm like, why
yeah,
are you doing this? And so
yeah.
when you drop that in there, that all kinds of red flags went up everywhere. I'm like, you guys are nearly married. Why are you mad?
And why is she continuing having children with this man? Okay,
Mm,
so there's so many elements. I am setting up a whole lot of stuff, a lot of
you
dynamics.
are.
You know, so well, hopefully you'll get a chance to to finish the book.
Oh,
It's
I am going to finish the book. I am
you
going to
know
finish the book. I am. And I'm going to talk to you offline.
okay.
But what do you like for the folks to, because our time is up and those pieces are going to go on the YouTube. Did you get the YouTube that I sent you?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yes.
so these two are going to go on there. Hopefully they, sometime it acts funny. But what do you want the folks to walk away with? Now the pot is getting thicker. We see that Nathan is upset. There's another baby in the air, and his attitude toward that. And we also see Bryce in the picture. So what do you want the folks to take away with as
Want
these
them
scenes
like on
move
like
forward?
on the blurb of the book. I want them to see that this woman's going to walk through grief, betrayal, loss. That's a big part of life. Okay. And you can either in life, when you go through these really hard, difficult places that can almost destroy you, you have two choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can either let it destroy you, you can take on a sabotaging lifestyle and make even more destructive choices, or you can, as they say, hit a bottom and decide to do something different for your life. And
Mm.
so, what I want people to, when you read the book and you see the loss and grief, because I think many people can relate. I've had people tell me on so many levels they can relate to her life.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see that there is hope out there, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how, but it might come in ways that you don't even recognize the help. And the people
Mm-hmm.
that come in your life might be the ones that you think are going to be the ones who are going to be instrumental in helping you. You have to have an open mind to do
Mm-hmm.
something different in order to heal. So that's why this book is more about emotional healing and dealing with issues. So
I love it.
the backdrop is, yes, she goes into this writing situation, but look at your own lives. Let's look at our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I had to get out of show business for a long time so I could get some help. I was telling people before, got help from me and my sons. I had to get out of the business so that I could take a dive back into my past and see what happened. And I had no idea that I thought I was going to be more in show business. I had no idea that later on God would have for me to be a support coach, and also to be able to go and speak to other women who have been wounded, that there's help, and to not to be afraid to step out and be vulnerable, and to reach out no matter how successful you are. If there's areas that are not successful, don't be ashamed of it. Reach out and be open to who God puts in your life to bring about healing. That's really what I want to leave people with.
That's a beautiful story, and that is, the conversation. You know how they say if someone is having a argument, they didn't argue, but then when that fried chicken burn up, then an argument comes. So this is a piece using the gateway as her going
Right.
through to get her manuscript. It brings
Exactly.
out other conversations, so I can
It
see
brings out
that
everything.
happen.
Everything. So
Yeah.
thank you, El.
You are
Thank you so much.
so welcome. And we'll
Sorry.
talk offline. That's okay. Things happen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to upload this and give it to you. And we'll
Okay.
talk some more offline if you're not too busy when I get off here.
Okay. So what do I do? Just
Just hit
hit the.
the X. Just hit the
Okay.
X.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All
All
right.
right.
Well,
Thank you.
goodbye to your audience.
Thank you. All
Okay.
right. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. She was letting us know. Greenhouse with Jenny. Thank you for being here. We just had a show. This is part two. There was some tech issues that were going on, but she came back and finished the show. Again, that is Lolita Coppage. Her book is titled, I'll put it up here, it's titled The Leaves Turn Brown. It's a very plush story, and it's a story about a young writer who manuscript gets into the hands of a big publishing company. She's trying to figure out how did it get there, who sent it, and she just kind of feels out of place with being in a position of, I would say, like a New York Times bestseller. And there's a lot of requirements, traveling, book tours, and different things that she was not prepared for. So again, if you're looking for a good read, which will be Lolita Coppage's book, it is Put It on Your Goodreads shelf. Do read it. And it is The Leaves Turn Brown. So thank you, Lolita, for being here. Thank you for coming back through all the tech issues. You guys have an amazing night. Thank you for those who were on here, as well as Greenhouse with Jenny. Thank you for coming in. You guys have an amazing day, or a night, rather. Bye bye.